Good evening. Welcome along to the Talkin Kop of a Monday night. We're in tonight. There's Gav, and a big welcome back to Andy, my friend Andy. And
It's been back.
he's turned off all his lights in his house, and he's going to do it in the dark in some eco drive in terms of what's going on. Right, great to have everyone along. Looking forward to seeing the chats and the comments come in. We've got three decent enough things to talk about tonight as we go, and then we'll have a roundup of things that crossed our mind, including a very new, interesting sport I discovered over the last 24 hours, which I can't wait to
It's
bring
not
to
the
the
one you
masses.
showed me the other day, is it?
No, that's
That was amazing.
that was the forklift trucking. It was immense, wasn't it?
It's fucking insane. Like, we get into it later when you tell us about your other sports, because if I start on this forklift stuff, we'd be here till about fucking 11:30 before we get any talk out. It was
the new sport. The new sport I found, Gav, it's a rabbit hole, and it's a tremendous rabbit hole to go down, because I didn't believe what was going on.
It's the only reason I'm here on a Monday is for these sports. To
That's
be honest
all right.
with you.
See what we could find.
Well,
Anyway, good evening to everyone. Hope you're all welcome along, and great to see some of the old names in the chat and some of the new names in the chats, and look forward to what's going on. Where we start, we're going to start off tonight. We've got a Liverpool topic, we've got a not a Liverpool topic, and we've got a sort of Liverpool topic to go for as we go along, and then anything else across our mind as we go in. First up, though, we want to talk about Trent and his position on the football pitch, playing the football for the Liverpool Football Club and Athletic Grounds. Gavin, this is your show.
Yeah.
Take me through what you want to say.
Sorry, Phil, your fridge. You don't have that fridge there anymore, do you?
What fridge?
No, that was in the old place. That was in the old place. He's moved.
The last one, yeah. I didn't recognise you as your fridge. That's
used
like
to have a fridge that's sweet.
Yeah.
Big creaky door, WD-40 all over the place. No,
that's a long time ago now, Andy. I don't live there anymore.
That's a long time ago.
He lives in a different place. He literally lives next door to Dicko. That's where he lives now. Yeah.
Would you not have just got a fridge to put beside your new setup, though?
No, I have. This is my blind. It's beautiful, isn't it?
You're in a box room or something, are you?
No, this is the extension. See, I can look out this way. See?
No, I'm going to be honest. There was one night where I said,
or a shed build type of thing.
No, I'm in the house. I haven't been sent out to the shed like
Ray Dicko.
Ray Dicko gets sent out to, and I've been in Ray Dicko's shed as well. So I've ventured into Mad Dicko's house.
What was I going to say?
Is that where he tries on all the cycling gear?
Yeah.
Who, Ray Dicko?
Yeah.
Ray Dicko does cycle now, is he?
Yeah, he has all the cycling gear.
Jeez, down out of Aldi, I'd say.
Straight out of Aldi. Smuggling budgies and all.
Yeah. Dicko's getting into the cycling. We're putting a little cycling club together. Might even call it day trippers, but however.
How far is Dicko able to go on a bike?
At the moment, he can only just go around the corner, Andy. He's just learning how to go on.
Has he got the stabilizers off, or
he has the stabilizers off? I fixed his bike for him, and it's working grand. And we went out with his young one, just the two. She was just learning how to cycle, and he was learning how to cycle. So it was wonderful. I have one of those long sticks that come out of the bike to hold onto his, so he doesn't fall off to the side. So it's good training for him. You know what I mean? So
hold on, is Dicko's on stabilizers?
Yeah, or like a trailer. You know, like
he has a cargo bike.
I don't know what the fuck's going on here. What is happening down that way? Like, Phil turns up into the area and they're all bleeding Stephen Roach, for fuck's sake. It's just madness. I don't know. Anyway, Trent.
Tell
Trent.
us about Trent and his position.
Right, so Trent Alexander-Arnold, the position he plays, and every time he has a good game, or every time he has an indifferent, once he turns up on the pitch, basically, Trent Alexander-Arnold, it's like, like he had a great game on Saturday. He had a really, really good game. I think they made an awful lot around Doku, who was just lightning fast, really good dribbler of the ball, but basically got beyond Trent, I think, twice in the whole game. I think Trent played him really well in a sense of don't get too close to him. Don't start giving away silly fouls against him. Don't get yourself booked and don't make yourself more of a target. And then at the same time, he goes and scores the equaliser, and from a position where he floats into that position, you know, that sort of way. And I don't even think the goal comes from maybe it doesn't even come from the fact that he floats into that position. He just happens to go forward and find himself there. We've seen him in that position from right back loads of times in that position. But anyway, there's a big call for him to play in midfield. And my argument is that he shouldn't, right? I think Trent is a brilliant footballer, all right? But I think part of the thing about him is that where he brings that from and brings it from right back. Now, if you watch him playing for Liverpool, he does an awful lot of right back. And then when we want to go into midfield, he goes into that midfield and he kind of becomes a little bit of a playmaker. The other teams don't send the winger in with him. They literally drop their winger back on top of their own fullback to double up on Salah, and they'll take their wins wherever they can get them. I just think if you put him in midfield, I think it makes him, if you set out a team with an actual right back in it, right, you have to get a really good right back in order to get close to replicating what he does going forward and the quality we have from him there. But I think it just makes it an awful lot easier for teams to go, yeah, he's really good in the ball, yeah, he can influence it, just go and fucking stick someone on him. Just man mark him every week and make him just play backward passes and sideward passes. And I don't know, I haven't even spoken to you two about this. I don't know where you stand on Trent, but my thing about him is he's so good at what he does, right, from right back. And forget, the defensive stuff is overblown at times for me. Sometimes he's really good, sometimes he's not, but it's overblown a little bit. But I just think we'll lose, if you put him into midfield, he could be a really, really good midfielder, but I think we'll lose that element and that edge that I think we currently have with him. So that's where I am on Trent. I don't know if you agree or disagree, but I wanted to bring it up because I just, like, it's every fucking week they're going on about this. And still, Jurgen Klopp plays him at right back and lets him go into midfield and feels like he's getting way more out of him than just setting him in one position, whether that's right back or as an 8 or whatever it is. So that's where I am on it. I'm sure loads will disagree, but I'm ready for that.
Andy, what's your thoughts on
general?
Where Trent should be?
Well, Gav was saying there, he didn't get too close to Docu. I mean, like, there was once or twice he was in a completely different postcode because he didn't want to get too tight to him. He didn't want to get isolated. But, you know, all in all, he had a decent enough defensive performance. But I think you're going to have that from Trent where you just have to accept at this stage that he's not a great defender. But what he gives you attacking, and like Liverpool are, you know, having possession 85% of the time, 80% of the time in most games, and that's where he comes into his own, where he's picking the ball up midfield, or where he's on the right side. He was, you know, he kind of comments after the game against City saying that he reckoned they were doing a job on him, they were marking him, and he pulled it wide on a couple of occasions. So Trent will find a bit of space wherever he can get the ball and get his head up and find players. And I mean, that's what he is in the Liverpool side. Like, you know, you hear people saying play midfield, but he does play midfield. When we have the ball, he does play midfield. When he was playing on the right side, he was practically playing right midfield. So it's a kind of it's a conversation that goes around and around. But I'd say when I have him doing what he's doing, because he kind of has a free role, like a deep free role where he can kind of go roaming and get on the ball. That's what Liverpool need him to do. If he becomes a player in midfield, he's just going to have a marker every time. There's going to be a player doing a job on him. Then he'll never be able to get his head up. So what he's doing now and what he's been doing for Liverpool when he's been playing on the right is absolutely perfect for the type of player he is. But like last season when we had to do an awful lot of defending, when we were like teams were on top of us, that's when Trent gets shown up, and that's why he's not favoured to play right back for England, because they're not playing. They don't dominate games like Liverpool do. For Liverpool, he's the perfect right back, and look, it's not even a right back.
The England thing. Sorry, just on the England thing, because it's not. I get what you're saying with regards to, you know, not dominating games, but you have to look at who's in charge at England. Absolutely massively risk averse, is Gareth said. Okay, doesn't want to lose games, doesn't want to concede space in behind, doesn't want to be outnumbered. He doesn't want his defensive unit to be outnumbered at any stage. So he goes with a 5. You know what I mean? And then he goes with 2 midfield. Now, the Bellingham thing is changing a little bit, but he used to go with 2 midfield where it would be a Calvin Phillips and a Declan Rice, who majority of the time are defensive players. So the manager is one thing. Now, Southgate's trying to find a spot in the team for him, so he's putting him into midfield, but he hasn't played him in there in a big game. He's played him against lesser teams in Euro qualifications when the qualification is more or less over. Do you know what I mean? And that's maybe Southgate trying to say, right, look, put him in midfield, he can create from there. But he's not going to let him create from a right wing back because he's afraid if Trent wanders and tries to create, he'd be left with only 4 defenders instead of 5. So looking at it from a Liverpool point of view, like if Klopp thought he was a better midfielder, he'd play him in midfield, or he would have signed the best right back he can get in the world in the summer and left out one of those midfielders that he signed and brought in Trent, because this isn't something that started over the summer. He played the last 10, 11 games doing this of last season. So Klopp had a fair sample size to look at and go, no, do you know what? I'm going to go out and sign Hakimi, and I'm going to put him at right back, and I'm going to make Trent a centre midfielder. He hasn't done that. He hasn't done it. And I stand by the point that Klopp feels he's getting more dynamism out of his team by doing this. He's a really good right back going forward. He's okay defensively, and when we want to win and dominate midfield, and teams aren't brave enough to bring their winger in with him, we can overrun teams in midfield and play around them. And the argument will go round and round, but right now I can't see the advantages in putting in setting him up as an 8 in Liverpool's midfield.
No,
but Phil, you have a theory.
These theories are normally good.
Yeah. Sell him is probably the theory. Watch this.
No, honestly, I think this is there's something within the condition of the English person that wants to move a player who can kick a ball really well into midfield. The same thing happened with Gerrard. The same thing happens with every player. They want to put them into midfield because they think that it's a very latent idea, but they think that you can only control a game if you're playing the centre midfield. Trent's brilliance is the fact that he can control games from wide right of the pitch. He reminds me, in a way, a lot of Beckham at his pomp. And people won't like this, but Beckham was able to control tempo and control what was happening in games from the right wing. Put him into centre midfield, he couldn't do any of that. Yeah, he's a lovely smack at the ball. He had a lovely strike at the ball. He wasn't as accomplished as, say, Trent is pace-wise, or being able to read the game as well as Trent is, because Trent gets an awful lot of aggro about not being a good defender, when in reality the type of way the way they want him to play is going to leave gaps behind them. It's a high risk, high reward type of football that Klopp has always played with Liverpool, and has always played, and wants his fullbacks to be as adventurous as possible. He's an ancillary attacker. You know what I mean? Like, from right back, I think he moved into they developed the system that allowed him to wander into midfield out of necessity last season, when his midfield had no legs. And let's be honest about this. Like, you can see Fabinho can barely jog anymore, right? Hendo wasn't getting any younger. Thiago had only one leg. Like, these lads this is where what Trent allowed them to do was to be able to tuck in and play the ball around in terms of what was there. But they don't need to now, because you've got McAllister, you've got Szoboszlai, you've got Curtis Jones, you have Gravenberch, you've got loads and loads and loads of lads that are really good in midfield. So why push him in there and lose what we spent an awful lot of money to build, when we've actually freed Trent to go back and do what he's really brilliant at, which is a creative attacking right back who has the ability to influence games from that position. And makes other teams, going back to your point, Gav, makes other teams stop playing their game and makes them think, how can we stop him and try exploit the gap? Which is very different to the way, say, City want to play. Very few teams in the league can just go out and play their own game and also account for Trent and Salah down that side of the pitch. Think about it. Our game winners are all down that side of the pitch. If I was a manager, your head would be wrecked. What am I going to do? Put 2 lads who are just going to sit deep and move 2 centre-backs over to cover Salah? Suddenly you open up all the other space, which we couldn't exploit last year, but you can now. Why do you think Diaz has played so well coming in from the left? Because so much attention is taken up on that right-hand side that it creates space on the far side of the pitch. Nunez likes to roam in from the left as well. That's because that's where the pockets of space come from. So, I think it's insanity to start saying that let's move Trent into midfield. And then what are you going to do?
I'm not.
Is there disadvantages to this, though?
Well, you see, I'm
No.
not fully against Trent playing the odd game in midfield. But all I'm saying to you is, if you play Trent in if you go in tomorrow, right? If you go into the game against Fulham, right, on Sunday, and you say, right, I'm going to play McAllister, Trent, and Szoboszlai, and I'm going to stick Gomez at right back, right? I promise you, within 20 minutes of that game starting, it's going to be, look, we're not getting enough down the right. Gomez isn't be able to do it, right? And even if you bring in a really good attacking defender, right, or a really good fullback that can go kind of both ways, right, in reasonable quality going both ways, Trent in midfield will literally be just... I'm not saying he hasn't got the ability to play there. I'm saying the teams will just go in and go, listen, this is what we do. But Fulham on the weekend, pick a Fulham midfielder, Iwobi or Palhinha, one of these. You just go and sit on him. Just go and sit on him. Or we're just going to... And we know where he is, so we can drop a front man in onto him. We know where... The problem teams have is they don't know where he is. 1 minute he's out at right back and he's feeding Salah. The next the ball drops and he's standing in the middle of the park. Now, are you brave enough to go with him? A lot of teams aren't. And if you aren't, then he has space to think. But if you put him into this box where you say, this is where you're playing, I just think we lose the element. I'm not that, and that's nothing against his ability. I think Liverpool, like you said, risk and reward. But it's also that kind of, what are they doing here? Do you know what I mean? Like Tony in the chat says Trent in City's team plays midfield. He might do. But listen, people are going on as if Guardiola doesn't play any defenders. He puts 4 centre-halves on the pitch. He puts a right back. He puts 3 centre-halves. Then he puts another centre-half in midfield beside Rodri. And then they go from there. So they end up with 4 up front. Trent may play where Stones will play. But then you'd know where he's playing. Do you know what I mean? Stones is effective for City when they're playing the ball around a little bit. And if they're caught in the break, he's good because he can fall back into position. Right? That's what he's there for. Guardiola is very risk averse as well if you watch the way he sets his teams out, even though they're lovely to watch and he's the power up front, but he's always looking to make sure he doesn't get caught on the break or get outnumbered at the back. Always. Look at the personnel he puts on the pitch. And it doesn't matter if he played centre midfield for City, alright? If he plays centre midfield, I just think it makes it easier to shut him down and make him play with his back to the opposition goal an awful lot more than what you see now. And maybe it's just a clamour to do it. Maybe it's just, we want a new kind of way of looking at a player. Maybe it's that. But I think the pros and cons, if you weigh them up, I still think Trent stays at right back and moves into that position when possible.
What is this argument to play midfield? Because he, as we've been discussing, he is playing in midfield when we have the ball. He's operating in a triangle there, which is kind of a cheap position. He can be anywhere. He can't get picked up. He plays in midfield. He counts as a midfielder, and he mark him out of the game. He can't get the ball. The way he's playing at the moment, he's playing in a triangle that can be anywhere from where he is at right back all the way across the midfield and up the right flank. And you can't mark a player like that. You just can't do anything about it. But what about the disadvantages? Like Phil, you were saying Diaz from the left plays quite well, but I think our left-hand side is not near as effective anymore since this shape change because it restricts what Robbo can do going forward. I know he's injured. What Tsimikas can do right now, they have to kind of become a bit more conventional in their defending, and they have to sit deep. So it means that it's very, very difficult for Diaz to have any joy, because it's a little bit easier to handle that right-hand side because you're not doubling up on the flank. So there is slight disadvantages to it.
I think, though, the left side of the team, we haven't really been able to see that because, Andy, if you remember going back to the start of the season before Robertson gets injured, he's actually back to playing the way he was playing the year before last. I think so much is solved by getting the midfielders that we went out and got in the summertime that allowed them to start essentially playing the way they played. Like we saw right at the start, before he goes and gets Gravenberch, before he has Szoboszlai bedded into the team, there is that bit of tucking into midfield. It hasn't been anywhere near as much as it was back then, and it doesn't need to be, because again, we have what we need in the midfield. We have a really strong midfield, and if people clamouring to have Trent in midfield, who are you leaving out?
I don't even think it's an argument to who you're leaving out. I just
but who are you leaving out, Gav?
I don't know. I don't know. It all depends what you want to do. Like I think
I just
you know, when you look at the midfielders we have, you know, there's an awful lot of talk around McAllister and can you do this, can you do that, you know, and he's still bedding into a new club. You have to allow that. I think Szoboszlai has been excellent up until probably the last 3 or 4 games where I think he's dropped off a little bit, but that's allowed. You know, I think he might have been a bit running on enthusiasm and stuff, but he's a really fucking good footballer. Like, he's a really good footballer, and he's box to box, and he loves it. And you will get little dips with them sort of players. When you look at them, even Harvey Elliott coming on as a sub, he's been excellent, not so great at the start. And then you look at Gravenberch, and you look at the running power he has, you know, and the touch he has, and he's always side onto the ball. He always knows where the other players are. He's going by them. He drifts brilliantly, makes positions brilliantly. So there's plenty. Curtis Jones holds the ball so well. So there's you know, there's so many options there, and it's not a case of who you're dropping. It's a case of having options there all the time, whether you play this tree or that tree, or drop one or bring 2 in, whatever it might be. I don't even think the argument's that far down the road of who do you drop. I think there might be an argument there if you want to put him in midfield for the odd game. But I can't, for the life of me, see Jurgen Klopp taking away this edge that it gives his team at times. I just can't see it. Like, why would you? Why would you just pigeonhole him into that? He's in the 8. Like, what's he doing in the 8 that he's not doing now? That's my argument. What is he doing? All he's doing is getting the ball an awful lot more with his back to goal. Right? And he may be a little bit higher up the pitch to start with. But there's a hell of a lot more responsibility down the middle of the pitch from them. And I don't think, as good as he is, I don't think defensively on the turn, Trent is very good.
No,
and that's where I'd worry that teams would just run over the top of you with him. And that's not against him. So, I don't know.
I think he will be showing up.
I think he will be a little bit on the turn.
Not unless they were playing like, you know, 2 holding midfielders. He might get away with it.
Or do you make him the 6 and you make the 2 fellas in front do all the run? I don't know, but there's an awful lot of ifs and buts about it when we're looking at something that while we're building a new midfield, he's part of it for the vast majority of games, and it's getting better and better all the time. Do you know what I mean? So my argument at the moment is just he stays where he is. Unless Liverpool decide to go out, you need a proper right back if you're going to put him into midfield. Because I'm telling you now, lads, if we sign a fullback or we bring through one of the younger fullbacks and Trent is playing midfield and Trent decided I'm a midfielder now and we have a fullback there that's okay defensively, not giving you a hell of a lot going forward, which frees up the likes of Salah, etc. It's going to come back to just put Trent back at right back. I'm telling you.
Can I actually be really devil's advocate here?
Mm-hmm.
Right? I'd never play Trent centre midfield. If you're going to play him further up the pitch, I'd have him playing as Salah's replacement right up the top.
So just that's where the like you're going back to the Beckham sort of thing here.
Salah gets massively involved in games. Think of where his position is. He's not just sitting up. He's not just up the end of the pitch, not being involved. You see him backtracking all the time. So if you're going to have a right back there, like in Salah's 32, 33, whatever he is, right, in terms of what it is, and Trent is still so young. He's such a good finisher. He's got such a good vision. He's got such good ability to create and do things. If you're going to replace someone up there who does that creative bit, scores a lot of goals, why not try him up there? Like, for me, I just think you don't have to play in centre midfield to affect and influence a whole game. The best players in the world don't necessarily play in centre midfield. In fact, the best players in the world that we've always seen, very few of them have played in centre midfield. Go through the list with the exception maybe Zinedine Zidane. Everyone you're going to think about is a centre forward or a forward of some sort.
Yeah, I think he's been given a license. I think.
Where was Stevie best?
Off the right. He had his best season off the right for Liverpool.
Probably the year with Torres.
Torres in the 10, he was brilliant. But off the right, he scores about 25 goals off the right in, I want to say 07, 08, or no, 06, 07, one of those. Before Torres arrives anyway. Torres arrives in 07, so it's probably 06, 07. And he was a joke off the right. Do you know what I mean?
But I think in general, we're just falling into this trap of labeling, trying to put players into categories and boxes. Like, football has evolved now. Like, there's players playing in defence that are well capable of running up the pitch and keeping the ball and doing everything. Like, players are just becoming hybrids of each other. You know, like, it doesn't have to be, he must play centre midfield. Like, he's a right back and he's playing in midfield. You have Allison who's on the ball an awful lot, who's pushed right up the pitch and involving himself in the play. Like they're doing everything as a unit. They're well able to, defend from the front. It's just a team game these days, and whatever is most effective, whatever's hardest for the opposition to do something about is what you do. This chasing the idea of getting Trent just into midfield just so you can see what he's like in midfield. If it's most effective where he is now, why would you change it? Teams haven't figured this out yet. They don't really know what to do. So stay as he is for now.
I think they kind of have figured it out, but they're not brave enough to go against it. They're not brave enough to go our left side of midfielders going into the middle of the park with you.
Yeah,
because then it leaves a big gap down the right hand side where Salah just goes, give me the ball and I'm gonna start going at fellas. So I think the pros of him being there and doing what he's doing outweighs the cons, i.e. putting him into midfield. And I'm not saying it won't evolve in a year or two, where we sign a cracking right back that's bombing up and down and he wants to play midfield and be a bit of a quarterback. I've no problem with that.
This narrative that's in there, he doesn't enjoy playing fullback and defending full time. It's what, you ring him up and ask him. Like, that's mad.
He doesn't defend up full time.
No,
but that's the thing. But you see, the whole thing about building this midfield and having a more mobile, aggressive midfield is that we stop attacks further up the pitch than we did last season. Last season, teams were just running over us in the middle of the park, and the fact that you have a Kanate or a Matip there to cover, the guy who's playing right sided, they can go and cover. Salah's walking back even more to cover. Listen, if he wasn't happy about it, I'm sure he'd tell Jurgen, listen, I'm not signing a new fucking deal. I don't want to play right back anymore. Moving to midfielder, I'm off. And that might come to pass, but it hasn't at the moment. He's a vice captain.
He can't possibly think that he's like, look at the joy, the competition he has between Robertson for assists and stuff. Like, their full backs getting all these assists, getting all these goal involvements. There's absolutely no way. It's a ridiculous thing to have. I mean, the only way I'd see Trent getting pissed off is if we were absolutely atrocious and the midfield was shy, which was the case last season.
And they moved him in there when we had the ball.
And then you can say, yeah, maybe he fancies himself as a better midfielder than what was in there. But I mean, when Liverpool the way they are now, which they look to be well up to challenging for a title again and whatever they're involved in, why would you consider changing it? You make these changes to see if you can do something about it. And last season, I couldn't have saved their arse with that change. And I didn't expect it to carry on to this season. I thought they'd just buy midfielders that would sort out the need for it. But it's working, and it looks like teams don't really know how to defend against it.
But like, lads, if it's a different country, you don't even have these conversations. Look at like a country like Brazil, where playing from full back, you're as much a creator and an influence on the team. Like, think about Marcelo or your man Roberto Carlos. Nobody was clamouring to move them into midfield. Two of them are outrageous footballers.
But you know who was an outrageous footballer and played right back?
Go on.
Javier Zanetti.
Yeah.
Javier Zanetti just went and played right back for Inter for years. And he was a fucking joke of a footballer.
Do you know who else was an outrageous right back?
Go on.
Steve Nicol. And he was absolutely brilliant for Liverpool over the years, right? And he scored loads of goals from right back. And do you know what none of them did? None of them did. None of them had the same ability to influence the play the way that Trent does. Trent is the closest thing we've seen to one of the Brazilian lads who can also act as a playmaker. Right? Those lads, like, I swear to God, Marcelo was one of my favourite fullbacks to watch over the last 15 years in the way he plays. And that's what Trent reminds me of, except he's more accurate and he's a better shot than him.
Well, you see,
Marcelo.
If I'm Trent, right, and this is me because he's never actually said, I don't think he's actually really said anything about having an issue. But if I'm Trent, I'm staying exactly where the fuck I am, because they're actually moving the team around to allow him to do this and give him less responsibility defensively. Whereas if you put him into an 8, they're going to go, now you have to go, make sure you have to cover Salah, and make sure you go and cover your fullback, and make sure this fella doesn't run off the back of you, and make sure this, make sure that. They're actually lowering his responsibility and, heightening his freedom to play the game he wants to play while he's playing that position.
He's living the dream at the moment. Look at the accommodation that they've had to allow him do that. Like Kanate has to be switched on, or when Matip's come in and played so well this season, they have to be switched on, and they have to cover him. They have to be aware of that, and they've done that unbelievably. They basically relinquished him of all responsibility defensively. Like when you see him just kind of getting back, and Doku was his man, and he's nowhere near to be seen. Like fucking, it's crazy.
It's nearly like if they go down the left, Kanate comes over, Trent, just get yourself back into the middle of the park somewhere.
Just be there as
in
a
the
body.
middle. You know, and he finds himself an awful lot next to Virgil when the ball's being crossed, because that's where he is. But it's actually, when you actually go out back and watch games, he spends an awful lot of time at right back as well. It's not like he's gone in and just standing in midfield. But anyway, that's Trent. I'm sure in 6 months' time we'll have the same conversation.
We can. I'm sure in 6 months' time to be talking about playing him at centre back or something. The new inverted full back centre back playmaking.
Fran said he spoke to Trent, and he says it turns out Trent wants to be an inverted goalkeeper. So
brilliant.
Yeah.
Why not? Why not? You could catch the ball and kick the ball at the same time. Be phenomenal stuff that goes on.
He'd just be a guard player.
Just be a guard player. Tell us what it was. Andy, let's move on to you. Wanted to bring up the topic of Everton and their protests. Just for context, because I know you've been busy lately, but like every week Pete used to be on, he either picked Man United or Everton as
no, he didn't. He picked Man United or Eric Ten Hag every week.
Eric Ten Hag, sorry, and Everton. He'd always say, "Was Everton?"
He kind of pick Everton, but he's friends with Blue Nose Bob, so he doesn't do that.
I think this is it definitely needs to be covered off tonight.
He has a soft spot for Everton.
He does have a soft spot for Everton, because he's a bit mad. But come here to me, Everton and their protests. It's what a fan base. Talk to me.
It's all very funny, I think. Like it's like that show Black Mirror, like where mad stuff happens. Like you think that the team that gets punished is the team that's taking advantage of all of this cheating. Like they're absolutely atrocious. The only reason they're in such shock that they've been punished is because they haven't got to take it. Like they've, with all this cheating, they've done fucking nothing. Like, so that's why the Premier League in their eyes are corrupt, because they've come after a team that hasn't taken advantage of all of this cheating, and they haven't gone for City. That's where they're flying planes over City's ground, because they're wondering, we've done nothing. Like, leave us alone. Like, fair enough if we cheated and we won loads of stuff. Well, then punish us. But they've got punished, and they're calling the league corrupt, which is crazy. And I have some of their banners there on my phone. I have to read them out now in a second. But like, they admitted to charges. Yeah, am I right there? Like, did I imagine that they admitted to doing what they've done?
Yeah. So the kind of quick version of it is that they were losing money hand over fist, right? They were way over the 105 million, okay, that they were allowed to lose over 3 years. The Premier League came to them and said, listen, you're going to be done for this. Everton said, no, listen, COVID and the stadium and stuff, and there was a kind of bit of a to and fro, and they've decided to work. We did it, but we're shy. Yeah, they decided to work with the Premier League to try sort this, but then went and done something else. So the league went, no, fuck you, we're charging you now, and that's the long and short of it. But Everton were open and upfront with the fact that yes, we are over the limit.
So with all this, like, admitting to doing what they've done, they think the Premier League are corrupt somehow. And the only reason City haven't been punished is because they're not cooperating. They're dodging fucking bullets here. But like, there's a big flag they got done up and it says corrupt. Premier League, we're coming for you. We're Everton. Like, what are they going to do? What are they actually going to do? You can stick your filthy deduction up your arse. We're Everton. We shall not be moved. EPL corruption at its finest. Where there's power, greed, money, there's corruption. Every move you make, every point you take, every smile you fake, every claim you stake, we'll be watching you. Like, these guys are crazy, aren't they? They're the maddest bunch of fuckers ever. Even their protest with their pink fucking flyers, they wouldn't even make them red. They had to make them pink because they didn't want it looking like the Liverpool colours. But they were putting them up for throw-ins, for corners, who does all that? They were just like angrily putting these things up to be seen on TV. They're just a mad bunch of characters altogether. And I was thinking at the start, isn't it great? The kick-up stink. Maybe City will get punished just as just because they'll have to now, and Liverpool might take advantage. But it's like lunatic protesters. It's kind of noisy now, and it's making the Premier League out to be the good guys here. We're being called corrupt for punishing someone for admitting to doing something wrong. It's just mad.
So they got caught, right? And they said, yeah, we were doing it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the difference is City have been caught but keep saying, we didn't do anything wrong. We followed your rules, right? And the Premier League are saying nothing, right? Let's just marry them all up in terms of what because this is what Everton are equating their outrageous punishment and corruption over, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the main, it seems to be the main thrust of this is that why are we getting punished when City are sitting there in 115 charges? And to that end, I think there's a valid protest and call to be had, and it could actually attract more clubs to it if they were anyway above what's going on, right? So if they accept their 10-point deduction, which it appears the club has, even though they've sort of moaned about it, they've accepted.
Well, they haven't, but go on.
Okay, so they haven't. Are they doing an appeal?
Yeah, I'll tell you. Yeah, I'll go into it in a minute.
Okay, right. So assuming that they're coming up with an appeal of that the punishment is too harsh, because that's about the only way you could do it if you've admitted that, yeah, we did cheat, but we don't like being punished. So ultimately, we have a group of fans, all 30,000 or whatever, who have spent the last 10 years or so just booing anything, basically, right? The players, the club, team, Bill Kenwright.
Do you know what? Sorry, Phil. Haven't they perfected the boo? Like, if they concentrated on something more positive, they might actually get, like, their booing isn't. They're incredibly good booers.
No, they're so brilliant at booing, but I still stand by. Honestly, right, if Everton are on at 3:00 on a Saturday, right, find the fucking stream, because whatever they do for these streams on a Saturday, like some Aussie television, they put the microphone down the Bullens sideline, and honestly, it's the best thing ever. You can barely hear the commentator. You can just hear Everton fans going rasher for 90 minutes randomly, and they get to the stage where they run out of words, so they just keep calling everybody the same word. It's amazing. It's like, the thing with this for me is, right, is that Everton have admitted they've done wrong. Now, first of all, hands up, right? I think they've a couple of good points on this, but I think they're going completely the wrong way about it, right? Now, I have got Dave Downey from the Blue Room on tomorrow night, and I'll discuss it more with him, right, in the Premier League show, right? But the thing about this is that, right, Everton have billionaire owners. They had Usman off on the side, plowing money into the club, right? Obviously, with the idea of when the new stadium comes, Usmanov's going to see a big fucking chunk of return on this, right? He gets his assets frozen. Everton are in shite, partly because of that, and partly because the guy that's running them is an accountant, and I wouldn't let him near me accountant. I wouldn't let him do me fucking shopping, right? Because if Mashiri's an accountant and he's a billionaire, fuck off, he's not getting my Duns Club card. That's all I'm going to say, right? Because he's off the chain mental, right? They constantly spend money badly. They constantly recoup money badly. And they're to the tune of, it was saying somewhere around 260, 70, 80 million, depending on the figure. But it's over 105 million allowed. Now, the 105 million is not a target. The target is actually zero. The allowance is 105 million, right? They admit in the end to being wrong. They go to this tribunal. The Premier League apparently, and nothing official on this, are demanding 12 points, right? Okay? Demanding 12 points. Nobody knows that. The commission give them 10, right? Now, their argument should be, listen, we done wrong, but 10 is too much, right? Okay? For the simple reason, if they went into administration tomorrow, they would be deducted 9 points. Okay? So, if they went into administration tomorrow, Everton Football Club would be deducted 9 points. Now, things further on from that, you probably end up, if you don't get out of it in a certain amount of time, there's more deductions, but 9 points is the standard. So my argument, if I'm an Everton fan or director would be, hold on, we'd have been better off just declaring ourselves into administration last week. You give us 9 points and we walk our way over because we're in the shit with money anyway. But they didn't, right? They didn't. They got the 10 points. They're going to do all this and they're going to protest them and whatever else. And remember, these pink cards were being held up in the director's box at Goodison Park yesterday. It wasn't just the Gladys and the Bullens and the park end and the main stand. It was in the director's box these guys were holding them, right?
And the pub in Atlanta.
Because they're afraid of that bollocks.
And the pub in Atlanta. Right?
Because they jump into directors' boxes and start swinging windmills. That's why they were. They weren't putting them up because they agree with this protest.
It was like do it or else. Maybe it was that, right? Yeah. But
they set dogs on each other and all.
No, they didn't. They carried the dog through the streets because they thought it had special powers to get them away from relegation, which was is still my favourite thing about Everton over the last 5 years.
That's plausible that somebody should be carried away.
But the thing is, right? They have angles to go on this. The whole corruption thing is mad, right? Like, and this is being fed by the media. Like, people are saying this is unprecedented. This is an unprecedented, points deduction. You're like, how is it unprecedented? There's no precedent to it. Do you know what I mean? You've nothing to measure it up against. The last team to be deducted points in the Premier League, right? I think was Middlesbrough. For putting out a team or failing to put out a team,
and I think the sickness, I
think Portsmouth. I think Portsmouth might have got a points deduction at one stage because they might have fell into administration. I think, but I'm not 100% sure. So there's no precedent here. Nobody has been done for breaking the rules financially and being punished. It'd be like Liverpool doing this 2 years ago and getting 4 points, and then Everton come along going, hold on, they got 4 and we're getting 10. This is ridiculous. And then you have other parts of the media going, and like, well, this is Everton, and like those 6 teams tried to leave the league 18 months ago, and you're like, no, they fucking didn't. 6 teams wanted to play in a different European competition. They were always going to stay in the Premier League. So stop telling lies, right? The corruption thing, the only angle they should really have in the corruption thing is, we'll take our 10, but the Man City thing should be sorted and should be sorted ASAP. And if they are found guilty of 100 charges, we want them expelled. Simple as that. Because you can't deduct them, 1,500 points. Do you know what I mean? Or 1,000 points. Well, you can, but it's fucking stupid. Do you know what I mean? But that's where the corruption angle only really comes in if A, they have a precedent, which they don't, and B, other teams, i.e. Man City, possibly Chelsea down the line as well, are actually held to account in a reasonable amount of time. Where if we get to the end of the season and they say, we got 10 and City have been done for 50 charges and they've been 30 points taken off them, that's a precedent. That's ridiculous. That's 50 times the charges for 20 extra points or 3 times punishment. But they're going completely the wrong way around this. And I actually think it affected Everton on the pitch massively yesterday, because the players come out and went, we're just looking around them as if to go, not in a kind of, this is amazing. It was kind of, what the fuck is going on here? And took about 25 minutes to get going in the game. And then as soon as it didn't go their way in the second half, the crowd turned, there was booing, and they weren't even supporting everything. They were just shouting about the FA being corrupt. Like, there was genuinely a fella that United were taking a free kick yesterday, and this fella was waving a pink card at Garnacho. But waving this big pink thing at him, at Garnacho, shouting, you're a prick, or you're this, or you're that. Like, instead of like,
they're corrupt.
You know, instead of saying, come on, Everton, get the ball out of the box, you know, they ended up not supporting. And then, to top it all off, when they were 3-0 down, they all just fucked off. They all just went home. So the Premier League are looking going, these cunts are coming for us.
Was that part of the protest?
Well, I don't know, but these cunts are coming from us, but they're leaving early to get home for, I don't know, the Antiques Roadshow was on, or whatever. I don't fucking know what was on. But none of it adds up. None of it adds up. And some of it should, but none of it does. You know what I mean? And I feel a slight bit of sympathy for them, because in fairness, this charge has come up. They've been open about it. And they're being done for it now. Possibly people will tell you they should have been done last year and would have been relegated with 10 points off them. But they are looking at a team, you know, 30, 40, 50 miles up the road with 115 charges. That's going back to... It's an investigation now that's ongoing. Investigation / charges being brought, going for 5 years. And you're kind of going, well, when does this fucking stop? And Everton will only really, for me, have an argument when the City thing is sorted. That's the only time they really have an argument. But it'll be too. But Everton's point is probably right in saying it'll probably be too late by then. Because if Everton go down, they'll be gone. So what happens to
They
City
won't be down.
won't matter.
They should thank their lucky stars that it's this season. That there's 3 teams that will get.
That's what I was going to say. Atrocious.
They will stay up.
They won't even get 10 points at all.
Yeah,
the whole season. So
that's just where I am, and I think parts of what they're trying to say is there's a certain amount of truth to it, but they've admitted doing wrong, and they are struggling on the lack of evidence against other clubs or lack of action seen from other clubs, and that's the only thing you could say. I
think, Gav. I think they're the method, right? So it's a judicial tribunal that holds these, right? So if you've got somebody who's staunchly defending their position, the decision is done on the balance of probabilities as opposed to absolute innocence or guilt in terms of what it is. So there's probably enough counter arguments in an awful lot of these really detailed cases to prevent the balance of probabilities falling on the guilty side, right? And it's probably as terrifying. Let's take for a second. Let's assume the Premier League isn't corrupt and are trying to do the right thing, right? Let's just have that as a baseline. Not saying it is, but let's just put that as the baseline, right? There's probably as much nervousness of taking these cases to the tribunal for decisioning, unless they know they have every single duck lined up and ready.
Yeah, but I think part of the Premier League thing, Phil, is that and part of the Premier League charges against Man City is, I know what you're saying is there's not enough counter evidence, it'll be, probability. Part of the charges against Man City is that they haven't been upfront and given the Premier League the details they want, and this is being delayed. And someone actually, Jono reminds me there, Everton fans have been City's biggest defenders when it comes to FFP. So it's ironic that they're now cry-arsing about City. Everton literally in the last 5 weeks, right, have claimed that the Premier League are doing this to stop Everton and the likes becoming the next Man City, but in the same breath are going 10 points. Well, what are you doing about Man City? Try wrap your head around that. They're claiming that they're being stopped from being Man City, but wanting to know when are Man City being dealt with. So they should really thank themselves that they're not the Man City, and no club should want to be the next Man City, right? Regardless of all the stuff that goes on with them and what they win and everything else. But there's two sides of the argument. You're stopping us from being Man City. Why aren't you dishing out expulsion to Manchester City? It's off the wall, mad.
But to Andy's point, right, bringing it all back around. So, and I never thought the maddest take would not be an Evertonian fan, because I've seen somebody mention that your own Pepper Mills has a special song out for it. So yeah, I'm going to go off and have a look for that later on this evening, because that tends to be an absolute highlight.
She's just a messer, isn't she? She's not serious.
Well, she's doing well with herself.
Yeah, no, I think she
might be a red, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, I think she's looked at the ridiculousness of the Everton fan base, and she said, I capitalise on this here by just being extra Everton, and she's just found a very, very sweet balance between going too crazy and believable. So she's cleaning up, a fair play to her. She's very funny.
And but to that point, I'm still amazed that Gary Neville's take is the maddest of all the takes I've heard off the back of this. Right?
Don't be surprised that Gary Neville's take is the maddest.
No, look, he's completely mad, right? And as I've said many times on this, the fella is a walking contradiction and a monstrous hypocrite. But this one is definitely up there. So he's calling out that the Premier League is a defunct organisation off the back of this, because all 20 clubs are voting with self-interest. I don't know when he ever thought that the 20 clubs didn't vote with self-interest at all times. It's been there. It was there during COVID and the whole lot. That's what clubs do. They're not going to be voting for somebody else's interest. But the take is on the back of the teams that wanted to set up the European Super League. So to him, right, the biggest crime into English football, that was his words, the attempted murder of our game, right, was the creation of a European Super League, which wouldn't have impacted the Premier League in any single way, shape, or form.
The only way it would have affected the European Super League would have affected the Premier League in one way and one way only. the teams that were in the European Super League wouldn't have been arsed for where they finished in the Premier League. And I agree it would have done damage to the Premier League, right? But let's be honest about it. This is the same Gary Neville while standing up for the Premier League, right? Even just because they didn't have the rights to the European Super League. We're telling Leeds United to lie down and let Liverpool beat them one night. That's what he wanted. That's what he wanted to see in the Premier League. And also, listen, the biggest thing in all this is Gary Neville wants Manchester United to build a fun fair at the back of the fucking Old Trafford and call it Manchester United Land. So listen, if you're going to listen to anything he says, like, I can't help you. I just can't fucking help you. Do you know what I mean?
No. Well, if his whole take doesn't involve something to do with the fact that they need to get their shit in order and should actually deal with the biggest cases first, i.e. deal with City first and then deal with all the rest of the cases that come out. And it looks like Chelsea have been off doing mad things as well. Right?
But Chelsea have brought that to the Premier League, you see, because Chelsea know there's something going on. And they've actually brought this to the Premier League apparently and said, look, we found all this. Here, take it and leave us alone. And that can't happen because it's happened under the Abramovich era and they'll have to be done for it. Do you know what I mean? But listen, Gary Neville calling the Premier League a defunct organisation when taking direction off the Premier League to leave the PGMOL alone on Sky broadcasts. So why
there's a lot of comments. There's a lot of comments about what could happen potentially if Everton are sued by Leicester and
Leicester, Burnley, Leeds, I think it is. And the rumour is those three clubs have actually told potential new owners of Everton 777 Group that they will sue Everton to the tune of 300 million quid because they went down and Everton should have. And that's where it all is going.
And that's the problem with all of these kind of it's the knock-on effect. How far do you go back? Like it is bonkers. Like it's not just about one club. It's everything else. I mean, if City do get charged, they're not going to turn around and award Liverpool a league or two and United when they finish runners up because they literally can't pass this thing right down the league because you're into missing out on Champions League.
No, they're just not. If Man City are found guilty to the tune where, listen, you're guilty across these 7-8 seasons and you won 4 Premier League titles, they'll just be null and void. They'll be just declared no winner. Because then you're right. You get into, well, who came second? Who went down? Who came up? Did they get enough money? But it's just a bleeding shit show. Trying to sort out the finances of it all. Never mind that else.
Yeah. They'll have to vacate titles if they are found guilty of all those charges. They'll have to vacate them. And normally, where you've been found to be cheating, the team that came second will be awarded the title for those years.
I don't think that. I think in Italy when this similar happened, the title wasn't. It was happened in one season because it kind of happened at the conclusion of the season. But retrospectively, I think there's titles there that were stripped but not awarded to anyone else.
Yeah. Need to look that up there, but be unusual.
Somebody in the comments will be googling that and making a lawyer around me, but
don't be minded those comments. They're all talking madness in those comments. They will be. They're all talking.
It's fairly relaxed, actually. There was
one of the
last time I did a podcast. The comments were fucking off the wall. It was like a circus in there.
But you know what the funny thing is? One of the funniest things about it is that Everton, because they've been so shy, have claimed that their cheating gave them no sporting advantage. They were like, we cheated loads, but we didn't win much, so don't be worrying about it. Like it's bananas. It's bananas. And to be honest with you, Dave Downey's on tomorrow night, and Dave Downey is so honest about everything. He's like, lads, we done wrong. We're getting fucking done for it. Do you know what I mean? He's really good, so he's on tomorrow night at 10.
Do you know what? It's the only person I think of when I'm slagging off Everton or making a laugh. Like is Dave. I don't want.
Don't want to upset Dave.
It's so unfair on Dave that he's an Everton fan.
Yeah, but I think the thing with Dave is Dave will come out and say stuff about Liverpool, no problem. And I'd say stuff, no problem about Everton. But Dave never turned around and go, I'm not talking to you anymore because you said that. He's just, he's very, very honest in the way he speaks. And when I listen to the Blue Room all the time. Yeah. And when I listen to it, he's always like, look, this is what's happened. This is what, and even with the 777 stuff, people going, oh, they'll come in and they'll do this. And he was like, well, I've done 2 podcasts with 2 lads that kind of know this inside out. And I wouldn't be too sure about these boys, to be honest with you. Like someone in the chat said earlier, all that money is coming from the cartels, which is obviously you can't prove. But like, if you're down that hole a little bit, where people are suggesting that, they're probably not the people you want in charge.
It's the 777.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, like I think wasn't Genoa about to go into liquidation or something?
Yeah, they look after
One
Genoa's Standard
don't
Liège.
don't look after Genoa.
No, you know
Look
what I
after-
mean. They own them or whatever.
Is there any chance with all of this going on that they have to stay in Goodison and they don't get to move into the boot camp?
No, they will move there. They will move there. The boot camp. They will move there. The problem is that if they move there and they're relegated, the funds that they're expecting to bring in, which got them in trouble by the way, because some of their funds are projected funds where we thought we'd finish 6th that season, and we're like, what the fuck are you talking about? So the funds that they lose, the naming rights, you know, the Premier League money, that whatever it might be, will massively be hampered by that. And you could probably see the City of Liverpool taking over the stadium. That's what will happen. There'll be tenants in it. City of Liverpool take it over, lamp as many fucking concerts and whatever else you can to make it viable. And that's
I still think it's mad. They're building they built the stadium in a dock. I don't care what anyone says. As we get closer to global warming and the inevitability of what's going to happen, it's monstrous. It's amazing. And only Everton could pick the idea of building a football pitch in the water. So fair play to them. Overfloats.
That's where they've done it. But their stadium, if they move into that stadium and are in the Championship, they're in all sorts of bother. All sorts of bother. Because they're in a financially anyway.
The Liverpool women's could play there.
Yeah.
Just make the seats red and
the under-21 team could play there as well. The reserves.
Sorry, there's a couple more clubs there. Hertha, Nice, Sevilla. All the spoils, the 7-7 group. So there you go. Well, what else we got? Come on, I have to go.
Right, let's wrap it up on my topic, which is an ode and a look back at the great Terry Venables. I know it's a Liverpool podcast, but let's also be clear about this. It's also a love letter to Terry Venables' time at Middlesbrough. But there's most importantly, I think I was impacted by hearing he was dead because I always found him a very interesting character. Like he's a figure that when I'm growing up watching football is very big to world football at that stage. He's gone through, like he's won trophies as a player and he's done all sorts of things. Missed out in the '66 World Cup, but it's actually as a manager in the '80s and the '90s that I think like he stands out to me in terms of why I remember him so much and what he did. Like Terry Venables, as much as we've laughed and joked about when he turned up at Middlesbrough just to see how they were doing training sessions and ended up just wandering onto the managerial bench and then being joint manager with Brian Robson and having the crack. His career as a manager is mad. He manages QPR and then gets the Barcelona job. To this day, it's insane. Now he was recommended by Bobby Robson.
Know how that happened, sorry. It's okay.
No, he was recommended by Bobby Robson to Barcelona at that point in time, and they obviously went off and did their homework. And to be fair to Venables, his style of football was way ahead of the time. Like genuinely was way ahead of the time in terms of the way he wanted to play and the style he wanted to play. He was massive, brilliant attacking mind. Like his Crystal Palace team from the start of the '80s, bizarrely, was known in the English media as the team of the '80s. Like this is a decade that's dominated by Liverpool. But like his Crystal Palace team is seen as the team of the '80s. He goes off to QPR, brings them up, gets them to the final of the FA Cup. They lose to Spurs in the final of the FA Cup in a replay. They were a second division team at that stage, and then he gets the Barcelona job and succeeds. This is the thing. He succeeds. He wins a La Liga title. I think it was the first time in 11 years they win La Liga with him as manager. He brings over Gary Lineker. He then gets them to the final, the final of the European Cup in 1986, and they lose on penalties in what it has to be one of the worst European Cup finals I can ever remember.
Red Star?
Steaua Bucharest.
Or Steaua Bucharest, sorry, Steaua Bucharest.
Yeah.
Red Star a little bit later, Andy. 89 or around that.
It was awful. It was one of my earliest memories of European, like a European Cup final. That obviously it would have been 8, 9, 10. So you start to you become aware of those games at that stage. But Terry Venables is there. It's for me, as I've said to you many times, Gav, 1986 is a massive year in my football psyche. So it's 85, 86, we win the double. Terry Venables gets Barcelona to European Cup final. We have the 1986 World Cup. Maradona, the lads, Josimar, the whole lot out in Mexico having the crack. And then Venables comes back to England and takes over as the Tottenham manager. And then, like, to be fair, stands out again. Gets them to the FA Cup final in 90, wins it in 91. You have that. I remember him walking out on the pitch with Brian Clough holding their hands as they came out into the pitch. Like, because Brian Clough was absolutely tapped at this stage, right? So, like, because this is towards the end of the Brian Clough time at Nottingham Forest. And the two of them were holding hands, walking out onto the pitch at Wembley. But again, his brand of football. You think of that team with Gascoigne and with Lineker that was there at the time. You think of the way they played. And I remember all those years when they used to do the previews of who was the up and coming teams and who might challenge for leagues and stuff. They were always put into that context. Never happened, but they're always put into that context. And it's such. I think then his next phase where he becomes a bit of a pundit. Do you remember he gets the England manager's gig, and for the first time, I think Andy, you said it before we started. It's the first time I ever remember an England team that is truly together. Like 1990, they were a great bunch in terms of what
that was me that said that to you. I just
sorry, Gav, was you?
The 96 thing. Like, he gets the England job in 94. I'm just looking at it here, and the Spurs. It's a good Spurs side in 91 that wins the cup. They beat Arsenal in the semis, don't they?
Yeah.
Gascoigne scores that deadly free kick. Did he win the final against Forest and someone scores an own goal for Forest?
They won the final against Forest. Forest went 1-0 up, and then they come back and they win 2-1. That's the final that Gascoigne does his knee in. Do you remember he went flying in?
Yeah, Gary Charles. But is it an own goal that wins it for them?
Yeah, it was something bad towards the back. Was it Des Walker scores an own goal?
I think Des Walker might score an own goal, yeah.
Goes in off his head or something like that.
Yeah, he kind of just hits him and goes in. But it was Euro 96, and it wasn't just that the team were together, because you remember before Euro 96 when they in Thailand and the dentist chair and they were all gargling
Hong Kong.
and whatever it was, yeah. And
Yep.
But like even like England have been in plenty of World Cups and Euros since that. But you always feel like there's a bit of tension there, whether it's between the players and the media, or the players and the fans, or media and fans, whatever. But Euro 96, now I'm 14 when Euro 96 comes around. But I always felt watching it, Jesus Christ, like this team, management, people in the stadium, the whole of England were like, all as one, nothing can stop us, Three Lions fucking singing the song and
on the shorts.
And I think it might be the last time I've ever seen England completely together going into a tournament, and he seemed to just. And I love Venables for it, because Venables just uses just taking a stride, Yeah, we're good, you know what I mean? He's probably one of the coolest English managers you've ever seen, and they're unfortunate not to win that tournament, in fairness to them.
But you know what? He published a book just before that tournament, setting out how he sets the team, like a coaching manual as to how he's going to set his team out with the way all the players are going to play, how he's going to pull teams out of position. Like, that's mad. That'd be like, say, Guardiola going out at the start of the league. You know the way what Linders was accused of?
Yeah.
That he gave all the secrets and every team they had to play against.
Remember that one?
Yeah, all the coaches were down in Easton's looking for the book so he could get the better Liverpool, yeah.
Yeah, but Gav, he published, and this isn't even just like, I'm thinking of doing this. It was a tactical manual as to what he was going to do in Euro 96. Like, literally was setting out, here's how we're going to play every game. Here's how we're going to do everything. Here's how I'm going to pull teams apart. Even with little sort of picture boards of where the players are going to do and who's going to pull out wide and let this fella do it here. And I'll play, like, it has it down. I want to play Anderson on this because he gives us such strong width. But then when Shearer pulls out, it means that one of the midfielders can slip into the gap that was there and frees Gascoigne up to make these late runs into the box. Think of the goal against Scotland.
Yeah,
that's exactly what happens. He was set, like, it's insane to think that this guy's footballing brain, forget about everything else here, was brilliant. For 20 odd years across the 80s and the 90s, he was an incredibly brilliant footballing manager, right? And there can't be any denying that. And it's like, that should always be remembered. But like, he's out of the job. The brilliance and the madness of England is, even before that tournament starts, he knows he's getting the sack.
Yeah, they're gonna go with someone else. Yeah,
Glenn Hoddle, right? They decided that Terry Venables wasn't a fit because why? Because of the row he had with Alan Sugar over dodgy dealings and
Did Terry Venables try buy Portsmouth for £1?
No, Terry Venables bought Tottenham Hotspur with
Is that
Alan
not Roddy
Sugar.
Collins or something?
No, I'm nearly sure. I'm nearly sure Terry Venables tried to get involved with Portsmouth. I'm nearly sure he did. Someone in the chat might be able to tell me. I'm not having like a bleeding flashback there of Terry Venables trying to buy Portsmouth for £1. I could be completely wrong, but yeah, he was going. Yeah,
He was, and like that's when he's because he stepped away from managing Spurs, if you remember, right? So I think in '92 he buys Tottenham Hotspur with Alan Sugar, and he moves to chief executive of Tottenham Hotspur. He moves upstairs. He's not the manager anymore, right? And it's only in that position does he actually get the England job when Graham Taylor, because he was overlooked for the England job because the FA didn't want him and they gave it to Graham Taylor. And it was only when Graham Taylor did so bad. I remember they missed out. Do I not like that? Do I not like that? Do I not
yeah.
like that? They missed out on the World Cup and Holland and everything like
They
that.
missed out on the Euros in '92, didn't they?
Yeah, and the
No,
World
they
Cup
played
in
the Euros in '92. They were knocked out by Sweden, and they missed out on the World Cup in '94.
World Cup in '94, and that was the Holland game where Graham Taylor didn't like it. But Terry Venables only got the job because the media went bananas that they wanted him in. And in the best way that only the English media could, as soon as he got the job, they then started to try to get him sacked by going on about all these dodgy dealings he had as a director of a company and what have you, in terms of what was there. And that's what ends up getting him the sack in the end. All these revelations came out about raising cash and all this type of stuff that was going on with companies being started and liquidated and everything. And then that was it. They were gone. And up until Southgate comes in, you probably have loads of, and I'd even say even with Southgate, it's like it's never been. They had one moment in '96 where England had defined themselves not as being this rudimentary, hard, aggressive footballing team. Like, this was a true team with football and panache and style that played to the strengths of what was the English game. It's honestly, I swear to God, when I think back, it was like Euro '96. I hated it because I was fully convinced England were going to win that Euro '96. Like, genuinely convinced they were going to win it. I've never been convinced they'd win anything since then, but that was the one I was convinced they were going to do it.
It was their one likeable sort of team, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was, yeah, I think it was with the players that was in it, and I think I think around that time the fact that the media tried to absolutely go through Gascoigne and others for what happened in Hong Kong, I think you said, and they came back, scored against Scotland, and reenacted it, as if fuck you, you know what I mean? Because everyone was all together, and then the media tried to drop this in, literally a week or 2 weeks before the tournament started, and Gascoigne had the last word in it, and like he leaves England, and you're looking at, like, I was looking up earlier, where did he go? He goes and he manages Australia for 2 years. That must have been a qualifying for the '98 World Cup. Goes back and does Palace for a year, and then the Middlesbrough thing, and like the man's passed away, and we spoke about it last night, and Terry Venables, his family, his friends, colleagues, whatever, former clubs, but like genuinely, I still think it's one of the best things I've ever seen in the Premier League. And not because Terry Venables is like, a joke character that comes into Middlesbrough, right? But honestly, and I could be completely wrong in this, I don't think I am, but Middlesbrough carried on like Venables wasn't the manager of the club. But Venables is standing on the sideline, being the manager of the club, while the pretend manager is standing beside him. It was mad. I think in the end they announced him as joint managers, but I think Middlesbrough go down that season. He goes on to Leeds when Leeds are on an absolute slide. Finishes up as England assistant in 2007.
No, because there's a really important point in this. It was her near point when Venables almost gets the Ireland job until Eamon Dunphy went on an absolute rant on Irish television about why he shouldn't get the Ireland job, which ends up with us getting Trapattoni as opposed to Terry Venables, because at the time the heavy money was on the fact that they were going to turn to Terry Venables to try come in. It was 2007 to get the Ireland gig, and Amo went ballistic. There's YouTube clips of it. You're gonna
is Trapattoni going back that far? 2000? No.
Yeah. It is.
Trapattoni doesn't take over in Ireland in 2008-9.
I'm telling you, go and have a look it up.
Euro 2012 is
This
I'm trying to
is
fucking think
around.
now.
I'd say you're probably right. I actually had it in my head that he managed Ireland for a while. I don't know fucking how, but
Because every time the management gig
yeah,
came up for the Irish managers gig came up from about 2000 onwards, Terry Venables was always the main man for the job,
yeah.
right, in the Irish press.
He was.
And
He was. I mean, he was the man for every job, wasn't he? Like
He was the
yeah,
England manager when Ireland against England at Lansdowne happened as well, wasn't he?
yeah,
I'm
Yeah,
sure that was it. That was like
yeah, 95.
95. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so he's in around that. I
It's
just,
mad. But it's just another one of those ever presents. Like when we all grew up watching football at the start, like that was always there. Like your Motsons and your um, Jimmy Graves, fucking uh, him, Terry Wogan. I don't know, but all these guys, like that were
Des
in
Lynam,
their
all them
youth.
sort of,
Yeah,
yeah.
all them guys were just there when we were growing up watching football, and now they're all passing away. It is a kind of a reality check, that all those memories of when we look back at when football was amazing, not like the fucking shit show it is now. And there's another one gone. I wouldn't have had him for 80, would you?
no. He didn't look at. There was an interview about, I think, about 2
96, if you
years ago.
think 96 is 27 years
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah, I know when you think about it, but
So, like, if he's a manager then, you're probably looking
yeah.
around, what, mid-40s he was?
Oh yeah, obviously easily, but the last time we would have seen him on telly, he was fresh enough, man. I know
Mid-50s.
he obviously got very sick very quickly. I don't know.
No, well, they did say it was a long
dementia, whatever.
illness he had, but it was obviously something that
Yeah,
progressed over time.
yeah,
Got worse.
yeah,
I think it was dementia.
Was
yeah,
it?
yeah. I
So,
think I heard that
yeah,
one.
I think there was something out there a while back. Before it was announced that he passed away. There was definitely something out there that he'd obviously succumbed to dementia, and that's a long, debilitating illness. So it makes sense. He was managing his hotel out in Alicante, I think, up until 2018, 2019.
Yeah, Nigel says
And
that. He retired abroad and ran a luxury hotel with his wife.
with his wife, 10-room hotel just outside Alicante. It was meant to be very nice, and he'd be there to have a glass of wine with you in the evening. Imagine touring up to your hotel and Terry Venables is sitting there, and you're having an old drink, and you have the crack. You can ask him all about
But that's the thing about him. Like, you're never having a pint with Glenn Hoddle. Like, Glenn Hoddle sent Ray or didn't put Ray Parlour in an England squad when Ray Parlour, I think, was Arsenal's Player of the Year. It might have been a Premier League Player of the Year because Ray Parlour made a comment about Oily and Drury, which was like something where he said it to Oily and Drury, and Oily and Drury laughed, and it got back to Glenn Hoddle. He went, "I disrespected me things." Like, it was all about faith healing and all, right? But you wouldn't have a point with Glenn Hoddle. You're definitely not having one with Capello. You're definitely Sven, maybe, because Sven's a bit of a bleeding looper. You know what I mean? But to me, he's the last England manager where you go, you know what? I think he made them likeable to a lot of people because of who he was. And, the whole thing with Spurs and dodgy dealings and stuff, people kind of go, he's a next level Harry Redknapp when it comes to that. The sort of way, what's going on here, the sort of way. And he just always came across Venables as a really easygoing, a bit like football was secondary to life. And I think that's what he came across as. So easy fucking going. And he obviously went out of football 15 odd years ago. But like I'll when anybody ever mentions Terry Venables to me, you will think of Barcelona, you will think of Euro '96, but I'm definitely thinking of Middlesbrough, and that's not to make fun of the man. It's just the carry on at Middlesbrough there was just bananas.
I just remember him I remember him at Barcelona, and he had a yellow top on him, and Steve Archibald and Gary Lineker were playing for Barcelona, and Mark Hughes couldn't get a game, and I thought it was the maddest thing I've ever seen in my life. All these fellas that used to play in the English league, and they're out now playing in Spain, and it's great. However, just to finish it off, because we have to give the great man his say in this whole thing. So so they were talking about it. You have to go and look at the YouTube clip of this, but Dunphy jumps in, right? So, because Giles has given his reason why you think it mightn't be too bad of an appointment there, Bill. And so Dunphy, excuse me for interrupting you, John. And I hate to do this. When he was appointed manager of Leeds United, he didn't turn up for the first match because he was doing a gig for the BBC's holiday programme. Sorry, John, that's not good enough.
Yeah, that's right. Dunphy started carrying on about how many times he turned up to different things and all, training sessions and everything. I remember that now.
I'm not doubting that, Eamon. It's a fact. How do you know he's going to even concentrate on this job? We don't know, Eamon. Then why are you giving him the job then? I'm
Yeah,
not giving up the chance.
but again, but you
Okay,
see
sorry,
that.
John.
But Andy's talking about stuff there, like you like the likes of like Venables, Des Lyon, and whoever. Dunphy and Giles. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Dunphy, Giles, and Brady with O'Herlihy on RTE. You know, it gets looked back at now in the reeling in the ears stuff and whatever, but genuinely some of the best lines I've ever heard in football punditry has come out of there. It's just phenomenal stuff.
Do you
that
know
come out of
what? And they were brilliant, and it wasn't even a case where it was when the world was a little bit less PC. It wasn't that they got to say crazy, inappropriate stuff. They just spoke freely, and it was fucking brilliant.
But
They got to show
Souness
their
said he loved it.
personalities.
Souness said
Yeah,
he absolutely. Souness said he turned up at RT for the first time and he hadn't a breeze what was going on. It was like mayhem. He's like, this isn't real. You know what I mean? And Souness, as I said it so many times, he fucking loved working for RTE because they were all mental. They were all
can say what you
off the
want.
wall, rasher. Yeah. And he thought it was the best thing ever. And then he ended up at Sky and got fucking battered into submission where he just said, all right, I'm out of here. You know what I mean? But no, look, Venables, I still think that the Middlesbrough thing will always stick with me. And I could be completely wrong. They could have brought him in the first day and announced him, but I don't think I am. I think he's on the sideline and they're going, no, he's not the manager. No. And he's given the team talks and everything. It was mad, but anyway, that's Terry Venables.
I know Terry Venables, rest in peace. It's been it's great talking about him and remembering his good times, and also the impressions they used to do with him on après match as well. That was fantastic, because that's what Venables used to sound like when he was doing interviews.
I was laughing at that comment myself there, Gav. That's like all-time greatest moment on Irish television, isn't it?
Yeah,
Like,
so that's Eamon
I mean-
Dunphy's reply to Bill O'Herlihy about I think it was
I'll tell you who wrote it, Bill. I'll tell you who wrote it.
yeah. Who was it
Rod
about?
Little, Bill.
It was
Rod Little.
He was the fella
Dumped his
Roy
wife
Keane.
and ran off with a young one.
Ah, right,
Says, and you
okay.
have the cheek. No, you can't be saying that, Eamon. You can't be saying that, Eamon. You can't be saying that.
Yeah. The Rod Little thing was exceptional.
Stands up to buddies, Bill. Stands up to buddies. That's it. But honestly, if you have a chance, go and look up the Terry Venables rant because it's up there with them. It's been one of the best to do it as well. Right, that's the three topics. Lads, anything to cover off? Can I just cover off quickly? So I sent on Gav a mad forklift competition thing that was
Amazing.
sport. I think somebody mentioned it in the chat the last time.
So the reel that you sent me, just to let people know, because I know you want to throw in your next sport before we get out of here, because we're an hour and 20 in. But it was basically a guy in a forklift with like loads of stuff on the forks on a pallet, but it was like, will it go, will it not? And he had to go up a ramp across like a, what would you call it? He goes up a ramp and then across like a bridge. Now it's only in a warehouse, and then he has to come back down this ramp and then get this stuff on the pallet without everything falling off. And then when it settles and he knows it's not going to fall, he's to jump out of the forklift, run around the back of it, run up this hill, and hit a big red button at the top, like where your warehouse supervisor would sit. It's fucking phenomenal gear. Anyway, go and check it out.
So the new one I found for this week is, I don't even know what the name is because I didn't, but I just got fascinated with the bouts. So basically, it's like trapeze leg wrestling.
Right.
So there's four lads hanging out of what's essentially a trapeze. So it's a box, right? So there's one here, one facing them here, one facing this way, one facing the other way, right? And the whistle goes, and you have to kick the fella off. You have to kick the other fellas off the box, right?
Right.
So they're all like there, and their legs are wrestling each other, and it goes on. Now it's rapid, like they're absolutely kicking lumps. When I say they're kicking lumps out, this is like, think of a UFC fight, but on a suspended box where you can't use your hands because if you do, you fall, and you fall about 15 foot to the ground as well when they're kicked off. So it's not like it's just
onto something drop. I presume it's not just onto into a car park.
Onto cushions.
No, it's not into a car park, but when we get into the World Games, it'll be just straight into the roller track in the car park. But yeah,
straight into a load of bleeding shopping trolleys. You just fall into a load of shopping trolleys. Yeah, okay.
So you have to look it up, right? I'll try find the name because I was watching a load of YouTube videos and go, this is mad because it's so quick. The bouts are so quick. They only last less than a minute, right?
Yeah,
it's great. Four lads.
So what's it called? Trapeze fighting?
It's like, I don't know. It's a Japanese name as far as I know, right? So I haven't got the English version yet, so we just call it box trapeze kicking, right? Because you know the way the war games work, we just say what's happening as opposed to what's going on.
Is the forklift one getting into World Games?
I don't think so. The machinery thing might kill them. But Emma Cavan is winding me up here. He says, "Me dad used to take part in forklift competitions in the RDS.
I remember those.
I was about 12. Organisers used to throw you a set of keys and let me fly around the place in one, in where fun the land does be. Would you fucking stop?" Emma, you're about 45. So that means in 1990, they were fucking lashing forklifts around the RDS in competition.
They were, yeah. I remember.
Emma, when you're back on Sunday, remind me of this because I have to have this out with you. I think he has to be winding me up. Has to be. He's never. If my dad done forklift competitions, I'd be telling everyone all the time because it's madness. So I'm not having that, but we get to it later. Any more sports, Phil?
No, that's just look up the trapeze
Fight.
kicking, leg kicking fight thing. That's this week's sport. We'll go and find the new one next week. I'll get the videos for you, Gavin. I'll send them on to you.
Yeah, send them on. I do love them.
Have a look, and we get the championship on here. Andy, you've missed. We've done previews, and we've done the whole War Games thing, and even the events. And when the War Games was on, and I had to explain to Gav that they're not. The great thing about the War Games is that they don't even have a set routine. He thought it was every 4 years or 2 years, but they aren't, because they have one in 2025, and then they're not having another one until
2029,
sometime around 2029. And now they've had one in 2020.
They just do one and then they go, fuck it, we leave it for 4 years. Like there's nothing fucking around it. It's like I don't know,
too much going on.
Exactly the way the World Games should be.
Yeah, I know, but like give us a bit of fucking. I'm not. I don't mind if it's disorganized, but instead of it being a year, it's 2 years. Do you know what I mean? But fucking. Like we're doing in 2 years, then fuck off. We're only doing one more in this decade, and then we're out of here.
Well, we went 2017 to 2022, which was 5 years, right?
Yeah.
And then they're going 2022 to 2025, which is 3 years. Now, given that they've done a shortened version, they have to take a bit of a longer break the next time. So 2029 is a fair time.
I really just want. I just want them. Yeah, but you're telling me that they're being held in bleeding China or something. I want them to be held in America, and I want to go to it. I'm only going if they're in America.
But I said to you, and Andy, you haven't been around for this, right? I found out that we can actually put a bid in for the War Games, right? Because they're open. The bids are open to host the 2029 War Games at this stage. They haven't decided where it's going to be. And I was thinking, like I said to Gav, I think it'd be great if Dublin hosted it.
No, it wouldn't work in Dublin. It'd have to be in
car park in the square,
Offaly or Leeds.
Have all the events there. Everything
has to be somewhere, right? Yeah, just like off the beat. Like Birmingham, Alabama, I think was in the last one. Amazing.
That was the last one.
Yeah, amazing.
And then it's a random place in China is this one, and then that's it.
Yeah, and then the world will all have the flu again, and then they'll have to knock around the head in 2021. Right, can we go?
Right, we can. Yeah. That's been it. This has been the pod. This has been the lads. That's been the talk. Thanks for everyone to tuning in and giving us the comments, and we will see you all on the shows during the week on the Talkin Kop. That's your cue now.